everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, November 13th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card that we are starting our day off with today is, we have here our 8 of Swords, having to break through self-limiting beliefs, self-limiting thoughts, self-limiting chains of patterns that are causing us to stay in some point of uncertainty or some stuckness. We have been seeing that this is a lot of the work that has been happening right now in terms of bringing up some of this unhealed karmic energy, and it's going to have a different impact depending on where you find yourself on this karmic cycle. For masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership right now, this is more of that internal work that the partnership itself is allowing you to experience or to navigate. As we've seen, masculine and feminine energy in divine union and partnership right now have been creating spaces and places that allow this point of clearance. But coming into these points of clearance are also feeling, to a certain extent, like points of feeling the limits of one's own personal abilities, one's own personal ability to navigate through your own self-limiting beliefs and thought patterns. Today may feel like a little bit of kind of like moving through some of that quagmire right now, but we are seeing that having this point of observation is effectively what allows us to move into a state or space of freedom. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is trying to move into partnership right now, this has more to do with some of that difficulty or the hurdle that we saw was causing a moment of coming into partnership. Why are we seeing this right now? Because we saw that effectively for masculine and feminine energy trying to come into partnership right now, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. There is this moment of observed anxiety due to the fact of how the partnership itself is coming into focus. As we mentioned, there could be something right now of a feeling of frustration as it relates to the fact that this isn't necessarily feeling like the most ideal of circumstances or situations. Why are we seeing that effectively? Because we have effectively recognized that for the masculine and feminine energy right now, there was a point of feeling like something had to come to a head to allow for the possibility of partnership to take shape. Feminine even effectively had to find out things from the masculine that they necessarily didn't feel were openly given to them, but more had to kind of be pulled out of them, as it were. For the feminine energy that experiences, this was a moment of bittersweetness, because while we saw that the masculine energy did open up in a capacity that they might not necessarily have experienced prior with this energy, we did see the fact that this isn't necessarily the way that the feminine had ideally desired that to be. It also required a shift in terms of action. There was a moment of the feminine simply requiring to see the masculine energy being able to have some point of change in their own life that was going to allow a possibility of being able to move forward into deepening partnership right now. For the masculine energy that was coming into partnership in this way, there was a point of observation in terms of having to make some adjustment in your own immediate sphere of influence to allow for the possibility of divine union to occur. The difficulty or hurdle that we recognized in this was recognizing that you had to do this also created a space or place of realizing that you were going to have to create disappointment on the way. Masculine suddenly realized, or you came into a point of understanding, that in order to move into a deepening commitment, you were going to have to disappoint some energy around you right now. This was not necessarily easy work, but we did see that for the energy that was desiring to move into partnership, this was something that you were ready and willing to engage in. This also created a bit of a hurdle for the feminine that was observing the masculine doing this in this way, because what we effectively saw was the feminine was feeling like, for a certain extent, that the masculine wasn't necessarily just doing this willingly of their own accord, but rather feeling like they were doing it due to the fact that they realized that the feminine was effectively requiring it of them. Feminine did not like to be in this modality. We saw the fact that the feminine was almost trying to articulate last week to masculine, recognizing that this was occurring, that the feminine didn't want to be in a space or place where they felt like masculine was having to make these points of activation simply for the sake of the feminine, almost feeling a point of not wanting to be seen as this person that is taking any kind of joy from the masculine at this time. But we did see that for the energies that are trying to come into partnership at this moment, this was not something that the masculine was doing for the sake of the feminine, but rather for the partnership itself, i.e. moving into divine union and partnership. Now, for the energies that are just coming into separation, this may have been feeling like a lot of heavy energy. We see this specifically due to the fact that for any masculine energy that had to move into separation from this modality, it was a point of recognizing one's own patterns as you were moving into separation, simply because we almost see that this is a situation of the feminine effectively telling you that they had that point of anxiety, that they had that sense of uncertainty, that they had that sense of cynicism as to your own abilities to effectively activate on what you were saying that you were going to do at this time. And this was effectively a moment of the masculine recognizing that the feminine was correct. Masculine in this modality right now, this may have effectively made you feel like you were a bit between a rock and a hard place, because what we were effectively seeing at that time is the fact that you were recognizing that this is a moment of the feminine effectively seeing something in you that you yourself might not necessarily have seen clearly, potentially even feeling in a way like the feminine was able to predicate your actions beyond your own ability to do so. This may be coming through right now as a moment of understanding and clarity for masculine energy experiencing this right now, because what we're really seeing is happening at this moment is the masculine is coming to learn themselves better, even in a moment that may feel like they have to move away from some feminine energy. There could be a moment right now where communication we saw was very stilted due to this, because this is a masculine energy that is effectively recognizing that to communicate with feminine in this modality would effectively have to be effectively saying them to a certain extent, you were right about my own limitations in this way. Masculine in this point of separation right now may be feeling a little bit of this trapped energy right now, because what we're really seeing is this is expressing the uncertainty on how to move forward given the knowledge of the self that one has just received from these experiences. Because while there is a moment right now for masculine energy in separation, in observing your own patterns, what you do with it is now that point that you are recognizing is going to require some deep internal change. Feminine energy right now in separation today may be feeling a little bit more like the expression of frustration of your own self. Why are we seeing this effectively? Because again, feminine energy has been doing a lot right now to clear some of that past karmic energy, but we're also seeing that clearing the past karmic energy doesn't necessarily lead to a point of excitement or enthusiasm about moving forward. There is a determination that is occurring right now with the feminine energy in separation, doing what one must need to do in order to proceed forward right now. That is requiring you to also see your own limitations. Though for the feminine right now, this is going to come across more of a feeling of anxiety or frustration in moving forward, not wanting to have to move out there and repeat the same cycles by experiencing the same energy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread for today. We have here our 10 of Swords in its reversal, and this is what we love to see. These two cards in combination are very positive, because though we have a lot of sword energy here, this is a lot of movement into productivity. For masculine and feminine energy right now that is in divine union and divine partnership, this is almost going to feel like a little bit of transformation energy that's effectively occurring, because it is the observation point on what is holding you back so that you can come out of it even better. This is the beauty and the strength of divine union and divine partnership at this time. This moment of understanding of the self, this moment of observed changing, behavioral changing that needs to occur so that you can move forward into more positive situations and circumstances going forward. And one of the ways that the masculine and feminine energy that's effectively going through this right now is helping navigate this is by this fact that every day allows for an opportunity of a new start. This is the point of the masculine and feminine in partnership in divine union right now. Being able to navigate this space is this fact that the partnership itself allows for the sense of infinite possibility, infinite readjustment, infinite realignment, a point of recognizing what held you back yesterday so that you can rise forward with new challenges better the next day. This is why the divine union energy is being able to navigate what could be feeling like very difficult situations and circumstances a lot more effectively right now, because even while there is a point of experiencing limitations or blockages, it doesn't feel like it is something that is permanent. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is moving into partnership right now this is going to feel a little bit heavier because this is the restart of the relationship. This is the point of observation in where you've come from in the past versus where you are going in the future. And that is a point of recognizing that things were not necessarily ideal in the past. We are seeing that for a lot of the energy that's moving into partnership right now, it is this point of observed change that is the reason that there is a possibility here. And it is feeling like a whole new experience. It's almost starting like from the ground up, clean slate energy, because what we've effectively seen is masculine has effectively made some changes right now in their own life, had to move into making some deep corrections or adjustments to allow for the possibility or potentiality of a deepened commitment here. Feminine, you may have effectively identified a masculine that was willing to do this work to allow for that deepened commitment that has also allowed you last week to take those same steps in your own life after seeing the masculine being willing to do so. This is creating that clean slate energy because, again, there's a moment that by letting go of those outside connections, releasing anything that you are feeling yourself obligated to, you are now leaving that possibility of the deepened commitment. But it is creating a little bit of a quagmire because we're even seeing right now for the energy trying to come into partnership right now, there's a point of even understanding and asking yourself, where do we go from here? Because you haven't taken these approaches before. You don't know what these next steps are. And it is that feeling right now of rebirth that may be feeling a little rocky because you haven't done things in this modality before. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, one of the things that we are seeing right now, we've been experiencing from the feminine, is an ability to clear these karmic cycles a lot faster than you have previously. There is a point of observation right now for feminine that is going to feel very bittersweet because we're effectively seeing right now for the energy in separation is a point of understanding. Potentially feeling the frustration of being in this situation, being in this circumstance, maybe even feeling right now that you've done this before, but not letting yourself get caught in that moment of feeling trapped in the circumstance or situation, but utilizing this almost as an immediate reactivation, allowing yourself to continue forward on your own path, on your own purpose, recognizing that this is something that is almost built to make you feel confined and limited, but that's not what you're going to let yourself be stopped in this capacity. We appreciate this right now for feminine because, again, this is a lot of that energy that we're seeing of the determination guiding you through, even through one's own limitations or hurdles. Masculine, in separation right now, this is going to feel a little bit more difficult because we are effectively seeing that for a lot of the energy in separation right now, there is a point of observation that's being reached in your own patterns, in your own experiences. This is something that, again, may be feeling a little bit of akin to deja vu because you feel like you've been going through this before. Now, for the energy in this modality or in this vibration of masculine, there could even be a point that you walked away from something that had some kind of deepened partnership potential, but you're doing that. You're walking away with a deep observation in your own cycles, in your own patterns. You were shown something in that moment that you can't unsee in your own experience. And this is what we're seeing is now creating a little bit of this limitation for you right now, because what we're effectively seeing is recognizing this aspect of the self is something that you yourself are feeling like you need to be able to do. Just how to do that is the point of lack of understanding, because it's coming almost through as a point of not necessarily having done things in this way before. And that is trying to figure out how to break through your own patterns to make sure that you don't initiate in them again. That is the goal right now for the masculine in separation. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now. Third card in our 5-card spread for today, we have, what did I say about new foundations? We've got here our 3 of Pentacles in its reversal. And I'm not surprised to see this card given what we've been talking about right now, because what we're effectively seeing at this time is new beginnings, laying the ground anew in a way that you haven't before. It's going to require a bit of deep breaking things down to build up in a better way, right? We even recognize this over the last few days, specifically for masculine energy and separation. We almost identified this, the way I was articulating this type of energy over the last few days may have felt a bit like knocking some blocks over. And I even warned a lot of the masculine energy in this modality that if you had this feeling of just kind of wanting to walk away from something because it was becoming too frustrating, to really pause in that moment and allow yourself to ask yourself, what are you trying to build in the space or place between? Is this a moment that you're just walking away from something due to your own anxiety of coming into union? Or is there something important here that can be observed about some changes that you want to implement? Something that you can do differently to allow for that new beginning to occur? Masculine right now in separation is really doing a lot of this self-inquiry or self-review at this time. I will point out this is going to feel a lot like the same self-review that we saw feminine was going through during the eclipse cycle, in terms of not asking yourself, and maybe not necessarily moving forward with a lot of determination at this time, but really instead asking yourself, what can you do differently to avoid repeating the cycle that you were just shown very clearly from the past experience that moved you potentially back into separation? Now, for feminine energy that is in separation, this is more of in terms of encountering the experience of frustration as to what you are receiving from the outside in. Feminine energy, the determination to move forward right now is very present. You're feeling this need. You're almost like feeling this point of allowing the determination to push forward through your own sense of passion in this way. But for the feminine energy in separation right now, this is that moment of assessing and asking oneself, what can you do differently to allow for a different outcome? The feminine is feeling more of a frustration right now, not about the actions of the self. We're seeing that. The feminine energy, the reason the feminine's been able to clear a lot of this karmic energy right now is due to the fact that the feminine feels like they have done everything they can do in certain situations and scenarios. Rather, for the feminine energy that's still in separation right now, the deeper underlying question is, if you feel to a certain extent that the energy is very similar around you, if you feel like it's not necessarily a circumstance of changing the self versus being able to find energy that is more open to partnership, that knows what it wants, that is more willing to move into union in this way, this is what's requiring the feminine to almost take a moment of pause right here too, because this is also shifting the feminine's approach in terms of how to move forward at this time. But this has to do more with the fact of the feminine trying to find spaces and places that are going to make it easier for the feminine to find what they are looking for. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that are moving into partnership, this is going to feel a lot like the energy in partnership. We saw a lot of that breakage point over the last few days about the masculine and feminine that were coming into partnership. You either were falling on one or two different sides of the divide at this time, either moving back into separation very quickly because you weren't seeing that point of activation, or seeing someone showing an example of their ability to adjust or modify their own environment to allow for a deepening of the commitment. And for that energy right now, it is feeling like a bit of more of that where do we go from here point, because what we've been observing right now is this almost feels like fresh start. For a lot of this energy, even if you've been in what could be feeling like a point of like coming together for quite some time, this could have an entirely different feel to it, because you're seeing the fact that it's not just the fact that you guys are together, but someone is making that investment. They're making that modification in changing things around themselves to allow for this new energy of what you're creating together to build up anew. Masculine and feminine energy in partnership right now, this could also be a lot of that energy that you are also feeling in the partnership, even if these are longer term commitments, because there's a point right now in observing one's own limitations, one's own personal limitations, that is allowing for changes to occur actively in the partnership to allow for this restart that almost feels like it's happening day to day. This is a lot of that excitement energy that we're potentially seeing in the more long-term commitments. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is Four of Swords in its upright. So this energy today is going to feel, I want to say it's going to feel a little bit of akin to limbo is what we're almost seeing here. Because while we see that there is this new ground that's being laid. There's also this need for rest. There's also this need for wanting to come into a point of rest. For masculine and feminine energy that is going through this experience right now, this is going to feel like a little bit of stop-start that's occurring, right? This is almost like an engine trying to turn back on, if you will, because what we're really seeing here for masculine and feminine energy right now that is starting up, we actually see that there's this moment of recognizing that you're laying the foundation for whatever you're trying to create at this time, but also there is a need for rest. One of the things that we appreciate right now for the energy and partnership is some of this energy, some of this commitment we are seeing right now in terms of what you are trying to make space for is to allow for more period of rest, more period of relaxation. This makes a lot of sense right now, given the circumstances and situations that we saw that were occurring for masculine and feminine in divine union and partnership at this time. Why? Because the heavy conversation that we saw was occurring in divine feminine and divine masculine union up until this point was effectively a point of observation that was happening with masculine and feminine in terms of what you are doing with your time and energy. Feminine was hitting a point of overwhelm that may have even been feeling like a little bit of a crash point that occurred. Masculine was potentially trying to guide feminine through that, and this is the masculine trying to bring their own sense of delight to circumstances or situations, effectively saying to feminine in a certain way, what is the point of working so hard? What is the point of us committing so much energy to things if we don't have the time to enjoy it in the present? Masculine and feminine energy right now, what we're really seeing in divine union and partnership, are trying to lay that foundation down that will allow for better ease and better rest going forward. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that is trying to come into partnership or trying to come into union, what we are effectively seeing at this time is there is a moment of observation in terms of all of the changes that you've made thus far. We saw that for the masculine and feminine energy that has been coming into partnership, there's been a lot of work required in terms of the changes that the partnership itself has been requiring you to make as it relates to deep and commitment cycles. We saw the masculine in this modality was ready to show the feminine through action that they were willing to make changes in their own life to allow for the possibility of a divine union to express itself more in its immediate energy. Feminine almost immediately reflected a masculine doing that. Feminine did it for themselves. And this is a moment of effectively like standing in the rubble of what you had to knock down around you to allow for the partnership energy to come in. But there's still that point of observation and potentially even wanting to take a point of rest right now in recognizing that that took a lot of work. It took a lot of energy. And now it's almost like feeling some of the peace on the other side of it is also creating a bit of a restive state, but also a little bit of uncertainty as to what comes next. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, what we're effectively seeing here is this moment that is being observed in terms of your own excitement about moving forward at this time. Feminine energy recognizes the fact that they need to move forward in this way. The determination is there. Feminine energies even cleared a lot of that past karmic energy during that eclipse cycle that would allow them to be able to move forward in this capacity. The difficulty or hurdle is that took a lot of karmic work. It took a lot of energy from the feminine to effectively clear that karmic, to clear all of that karmic energy away. So if the feminine energy might be in a point right now of feeling a need for more than anything spiritual, emotional rest, we may be seeing that a lot of the feminine energy right now may be taking a lot of time for themselves at this moment, requiring this level or degree of rest for themselves, given the fact and the recognition that this took a lot of work to reach. It's going to feel like a lot of catharsis right now. It's going to feel for the feminine energy in a point of separateness, because I don't even want to call it separation right now, because this is literally the energy of saying that this no longer feels like separation. It feels like completion. Because feminine, again, the reason the feminine's coming into this modality is recognizing that they're moving forward, that this is a fresh start for them, but it's also expressing the feminine energies exhaustion point at this time. Requiring and needing this rest, giving themselves this sense of rest for today is going to be key. Now, For masculine energy and separation, this is also a moment that you may be feeling rest. But the problem with the masculine energy experiencing this at this time is the fact that you may not necessarily identify what is happening as much. Why? Because this is showing that a lot of this internal work that is happening at this time is happening within you. You are recognizing right now your own cycle. You're seeing the fact that you've walked away from something with a point of observation in your own patterns that cannot be unseen. This could either be a feminine energy. You moved away from a feminine energy that was almost predictive in terms of the pattern that you were going into that helped you recognize it. But it's also something that feels like it is almost a point of deep epiphany, because this point of recognition isn't just one that's potentially happening in the current moment, but feels like it almost has a bit of reverberation effect in terms of your own patterns, in terms of your own cycles. And this is a moment of pause that you may be giving yourself right now before you move forward or backward to ask yourself, what do you do? What can you change about yourself to allow this to not necessarily repeat itself? This is requiring a sense for masculine and separation that also is leaning very heavily into a sense of rest, wanting to come into a point of peace, but also making peace with yourself as you go forward from this point. Now, fifth card in our 5-card spread for today, we love to see this right now. We've got here our King of Cups energy, and it's going to feel a little bit different depending on where you are in these cycles. For masculine and feminine energy right now that's in divine partnership or divine union, this is the benefit of the divine union or partnership coming into play. Masculine energy, you are recognizing, again, what has been happening. Masculine, you may have effectively had to recognize and point out to feminine that the point of being in partnership isn't the point of effectively working oneself so much that you reach a point of exhaustion. Rather, being able to find that point of easement in terms of the point of where you feel like you need to work while also feeling that need to rest. Finding that balance point right now is actually what is key. Masculine in partnership or union right now, you may be feeling the security and strength of the partnership that allows you to do this, allows you to have this. You may even be trying to educate the feminine right now in this because you're feeling it to a certain extent. Your desire right now isn't necessarily one of just pushing as hard as you can for no apparent reason. It is coming into a state or space of contentment that you're experiencing in the divine union, in the divine partnership, and you're effectively trying to help the feminine energy also come into that modality. Feminine right now, in divine union and divine partnership, you may be seeing that the masculine you may be feeling right now that the masculine has grasped something that you yourself are working to achieve at a better point. And it's really interesting right now because we're almost seeing right now for the energy that is in divine union or in divine partnership right now, the feminine could be feeling to a certain extent almost like you're taking some emotional notes from a balanced masculine energy, which may feel like a little bit of a role reversal. We don't typically see this type of energy in partnership, but again, that is the beauty of the divine union energy. It allows for this flexibility and understanding and recognition of experience at this time. Masculine is effectively creating right now a space for the feminine in divine union and partnership to have those points of rest, to have those points of easement. That is what is empowering and fueling the partnership. Masculine, you are doing this right now because, again, it is also important to your own sense of contentment. You are discovering this right now for yourself. You're trying to make sure that the energy around you is similarly in that point of easement. Now, masculine and feminine right now that are trying to come into partnership, this is going to feel like a little bit of easement because masculine, what we're effectively seeing if you've been moving into partnership for the first time or divine union, this is a moment of observation on what really feels right for you at this time. There's almost this recognition right now in the fact of you coming into a sense or a state of peace or easement at this time. And it is feeling like a little bit of a sea change, particularly for the masculine energy that's just doing this for the first time in a real way. For a lot of the masculine energy, this could be a feeling of recognizing that something about the relationship or partnership that you're moving into at this time feels very different than anything that you may have experienced before, because it is creating a state or a space of contentment. It's allowing you almost a sense of emotional balance. And we're feeling that one of the things that we're seeing here that's so beautiful about this is, for masculine energy that's in this modality right now, it could be a feeling like you just moved a lot of things out of your life. You may have had to close a lot of those cycles to be able to move into a deepening of the commitment. But we're seeing here that this is the masculine energy that's almost feeling immediate peace for those decisions. It's not creating a sense of restlessness. It's not creating a sense of regret. It's more creating a sense of being at peace with the choices that you've made at this time, even though that they were difficult. And we're seeing here that for masculine right now, this is also moving you into that modality of partnership, much like we just saw with the energy that's been in partnership for quite some time right now. Because this is also you feeling the peace and security of being in divine union starting to come into play. Now, feminine energy that is trying to come into partnership right now. If you are doing this, if you've been going through this cycle with a masculine to a certain extent, what we're effectively identifying is this point of masculine realizing, coming into a point of realizing that you're seeing a lot of this change in the masculine energy, that there is something here that may be feeling like masculine has had some point of adjustment. And for the feminine in this modality, this is further affirming your own commitment right now to this cycle, because you are seeing that this is a masculine energy that seems to be able to have done this work to grow. They've come into this point of recognizing their own patterns, their own behaviors. They're committed to changing them right now. And this is also building the security in the divine union and partnership as you go forward from here. Now, for masculine and feminine energy in separation, this is the challenging space that we're effectively seeing. Why? Because for feminine energy right now, that is in separation, the issue that we are experiencing at this time isn't necessarily the fact that you aren't in a point of identifying that you want to move forward. You are looking for masculine energy that is at a point of emotional balance, that knows what they want, that wants to come into divine union and partnership. This is effectively trying to manifest this type of energy right now. The problem for the feminine energy is feeling like they are surrounded by a lot of the latter. It's feeling like you're not necessarily seeing that around you right now. And it is this point of frustration, isolating, really building on the fact that you know in your own heart that this energy exists, but you do not see it yet. Recognizing that you need to move forward to find it is almost creating a point of exhaustion for you right now, because this is really identifying or articulating the fact that while you are in this modality right now and you know that you need to have this fresh start to be able to go seeking it, you're not necessarily feeling in the mood to do so today, because really we're seeing that you're almost desiring that point of rest, almost as you work to manifest that energy within your own mind space. Now, for masculine energy in separation right now, this is a moment of deepening understanding of the self that you're almost taking a pause point right now prior to beginning anew. Because as I said, we are seeing that to a certain extent right now, this healing is coming to masculine one way or another. Masculine energy, you have come to a point of deepening understanding of the self at this time, a point of coming into emotional balance. For masculine energy, again, you may have potentially just walked away from something that held some possibility of commitment, held some possibility of partnership. This is that moment that point of walking away really had to point to a point of understanding of what it is that you yourself were seeking at this time. It is that understanding of what it is that you're seeking that is almost building a point of strength within the self right now, because it is affirming your choices, coming to peace with the choice that you made, so that you can move forward with that deepening commitment to the self at this time. Whatever direction this is coming through right now with the masculine, this is almost a deepening of the commitment on where your heart truly is, which is why you are effectively making peace with anything that may have created a disruption point prior to coming into the space or place of renewed autonomy. Now, those are our first 5 cards that we are beginning our read with today. Let's see if we can get some points of clarification. Clarification between our 8 of Swords in combination with our 10 of Swords in its reversal. May I please have 1 card to clarify? 2 cards coming out to clarify right now. We have here our Ace of Pentacles in combination with our 2 of Swords. What we are really identifying and experiencing at this time is this point of, again, the energy that is in partnership at this moment. This is feeling the strength, the power, the beauty of the partnership itself. What we're really identifying at this time is this point of, again, the point is not the fact that there aren't things that are difficult in the divine union and partnership energy, but it is the combined effort and energy of recognizing that you are not necessarily doing these things alone, that you're working together right now to make those points of determination that are almost allowing a point of easement. We're also seeing that a lot of the masculine energy and feminine energy right now in divine union and partnership, bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is coming into a point of decision. It's not the fact that there aren't opportunities around you right now. It's trying to decide what opportunities you want to take versus the ones that you don't right now, because there is a feeling right now of, again, over prioritization. We saw that the feminine last week was going through a point of overwhelm, having potentially overcommitted to too many things. Masculine, we saw the fact that you were helping a feminine that was feeling this, guiding them through their own sense of insecurity as it relates to having overcommitted themselves in this way. Masculine and feminine energy right now, they're working in harmony to determine what they want to focus as their priority going forward. And it's going to feel very singular at this time. This could even be a moment right now of masculine and feminine in partnership at this moment, saying to each other, what is our highest priority right now, so that they can move towards it with that easement and recognize that it's okay to shed anything that they feel isn't in that modality. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into partnership at this time, this was the decision of coming into partnership. This is why we see that for both masculine and feminine, while you may have done some things right now in your own life that others may see are limiting you, closing you off to a certain degree, you're not necessarily feeling like it is so much of a closing off, because you feel like it's allowing for a new opportunity to arise in its place. This is exactly that moment that we saw that both masculine and feminine last week had to close off a lot of energy, had to move into disappointing a lot of energy. But again, it's not feeling like a closing off of a cycle so much as it feels like it is a new achievement. It is a new level that's been unlocked, because the partnership itself is the opportunity. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are in separation right now, this is why we effectively see that for the feminine, this could be feeling a lot today like a need for self-care is key, because this is almost the feminine observing the fact that they've done a lot of the clearing of this energy over the last few weeks. Feminine's been doing a lot of work in the realm of clearing this karmic energy, and it is feeling right now like a bit of a point of exhaustion that the feminine's reached in this modality, because it's not the fact that this work hasn't been done to shed the unhealed karmic energy. It's more of the anxiety of not wanting to take up new unhealed karmic energy going forward that is requiring the feminine energy to almost affirm to themselves. The way they're going to do that is by being much more selective with their energy, only moving towards situations and circumstances that seem to really hold a deep value or intrinsic value. Again, manifesting masculine energy that has that ability of understanding what it is that they truly desire, so that they can offer it to the feminine in a very tangible way, is what the feminine is focusing on going forward. Masculine energy right now, if you're in separation, this is effectively you understanding this within the self right now. Masculine, if you're in separation right now, you may have just walked away from something that offered the opportunity of partnership. But one of the things that we see the masculine is doing at this time is they are really, even in separation right now, even if this was an opportunity that was offered by feminine that they effectively realized that they walked away from or didn't necessarily weren't ready for, this is the point of the masculine really asking themselves, why didn't they want that offer? Why didn't they want that opportunity? Why didn't they want to move towards this? And it is the observation of this, the recognition of this, that is effectively now allowing the masculine energy to come into alignment with themselves. Because it is a moment of the masculine looking at something that they may even be feeling that, like, for all intents and purposes, that may have been the ideal scenario for them. But masculine in separation right now is effectively asking themselves and saying, why didn't I desire that? to be able to come into a better understanding of what it is that they truly desire. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ten of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Judgment, and we love to see this. So for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership, it is this moment of the decisions that you're making going forward that are helping to unify and empower the partnership itself. The partnerships are making a lot of decisions as it relates to the path going forward at this time, being able to recognize what opportunities they want to move towards versus what they need to release. But again, it is going to feel like this moment of anything that is being shed is due to the fact of the recognition that the partnership kind of requires it at this point. We saw last week feminine and masculine being in a point of understanding, feminine feeling like they may have overcommitted to things, masculine helping the feminine guide through that experience, basically saying to them, it is okay to withdraw your energy from things that are not giving back in kind. Almost potentially even articulating to feminine to a certain degree, what is the point of being invested in something and working so hard if we do not have times to experience and enjoy what we're creating in the space and place between for ourselves? Masculine and feminine energy are doing this work right now to really refine where they're putting their time, effort, and energy. But again, it is feeling like that is a point of mutual judgment, mutual decision-making, mutual planning that's going to allow the new opportunity to move forward. This is calling back of the energy to allow for new starts, new cycles to begin, the value and strength of the partnership itself. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now that is moving into partnership, what we're effectively seeing at this time is there is a point of observation in recognizing that this is the work that you just did to come into divine union or divine partnership. It was requiring you to make some hard decisions. We saw that for both masculine and feminine in this modality, there was a feeling of having to disappoint some energy as you articulated where you were in some situations or scenarios. But what we really appreciate about this is there is, again, much like coming into the partnership energy that we just saw, there's an observation that you're both doing this right now that is deepening the confirmation and the choice that you're making in choosing the partnership over the outside obligations that is further empowering the partnership to move deeper into divine union. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, we see that this is that commitment to the self that is occurring. Feminine energy, the difficult challenge that we're seeing right now and the point of exhaustion that's potentially being reached is due to a feeling not necessarily in not identifying and knowing what you want, i.e. that masculine energy that is in a point of emotional balance, that is recognizing that they know what it is that they seek, i.e. divine union. It is more feeling the frustration of a lot of energy that you've experienced prior to this point that you feel did not have that ability. And it is that moment right now that is requiring the feminine energy to affirm to themselves that the way they're going to go forward from this point is being much more selective. Being much more selective on the energy that they're allowing near themselves to allow for different circumstances. This is feminine energy basically saying to themselves that they need to protect their energy even more carefully as they proceed forward from this point, becoming even more discerning due to the fact that there's some kind of feeling of the feminine feeling like they allow too much unhealthy energy around them that becomes limiting instead of productive. But we are also seeing that this is a point of the feminine wanting to take some sense of self-care for themselves, because this is almost the feminine energy coming into a sense or space of recovery of all of the energy that they've been clearing karmically at this time. Masculine energy and separation, this is that point of observing the circumstances or situations that you find yourself in as it relates to some offer or opportunity that you didn't necessarily move towards. This is almost potentially for some of the masculine energy and separation right now. This could almost be even feeling like a reconsideration point on something that was offered to you that you walked away from. This is almost a point that we're seeing right now for some masculine, especially if this was a point of separation that you found yourself in right now, where you realized that you needed to take some point of action You are now in this point of really experiencing and asking oneself, why did you walk away from that? Because there's a point, and we are seeing right now, this is why we are recognizing this as a healing cycle. This is masculine saying and seeing the pattern in their own ability to walk away from something, that is really asking themselves again, what am I seeking? Why did I just repeat a pattern? For some of the masculine, this is now scrutinizing your own choice, potentially even scrutinizing what it is that you walked away from, to ask yourself if it was the right choice as it relates to what it is that you truly want. And it's going to feel like a lot of soul searching right now for masculine energy that is in separation in this way. But it's also helping you really isolate what it is that you are in your core, that you are really trying to find. And it could be feeling like more of an undefinable expression point at this time, because this is masculine coming into emotional balance. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Four of Swords. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Pentacles. Decisions need to effectively be reached at this time. Choices are being made. Masculine and feminine energy right now, again, in partnership. This is feeling like a little bit of a juggling act, because what we're effectively seeing at this time is, again, it is the feeling of multiple priorities having to be balanced at this time. This is more of that overwhelm that we were identifying and seeing last week as it relates to the partnered energies. We are even effectively seeing at this time that for energies in this modality or in this expression at this time, we are seeing that the partnered energies are being very selective in terms of feeling and looking at what they feel like they can actually effectively balance versus what is feeling too overwhelming. This is what the masculine was helping the feminine with. Feminine, you may be still feeling this in partnership at this time, feeling like you are still balancing a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different possibilities. But again, this is the masculine that's effectively helping you in this modality and effectively telling you that it's okay to let some things go if they feel like they're becoming too overwhelming. This is something that the feminine energy may have more of a difficulty or hurdle doing right now, and they almost need the masculine energy to give them that emotional support as they're trying to do it. Masculine, you may be doing this yourself right now, but again, you're helping. You are seeing the fact that you are not alone in this. You are feeling the power of the unified energy around you in recognizing that it's not just yourself that is learning how to do this, that it's almost a collective effort, that you're helping each other as you go along right now, that is further helping you on your own journey. This is why we see that the masculine and feminine energy in divine union right now is having a little bit more of this stop-start energy, because it's almost looking at some things right now and feeling the frustration of things that feel like they're coming in and going away just as quickly. But again, it's more about the masculine and feminine really trying to focus on where they want to put their time, effort, and energy at this time. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is moving into deepening partnership. You just did this for yourselves. You're almost taking a moment right now of pause, because it is the uncertainty of what you're going to do from here that is effectively creating a little bit of this disordered feeling right now. And it may be feeling like a little bit of a balancing act right now, because again, this is almost like having removed things right now from your own life, having to pull out of some certain circumstances or experiences. It's requiring shifting. It's requiring juggling. It's requiring potentially adjustments to schedules, adjustments to plans, adjustments to what things look like in the future. This is that point of realigning one's own life to be able to balance another life effectively. It is that moment right now of effectively coming into partnership that is taking all of your effort, taking all of your energy, taking all of your work, because it is changing the landscape of everything around you in the process. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is effectively in separation, this is that moment of trying to decide how to move forward from this space. Because what we're really seeing is for the feminine energy right now, there's a heavy need for self-care. If you're in a moment of I don't even want to say separation right now, because this is almost like a feminine energy moving through an act of completion into restart energy. Feminine energy right now is now looking right now at a point of recognizing what they need to let go of, coming to peace with what they've let go of in the past, i.e. that unhealed karmic energy that needed to be shed, that's allowing them to feel a bit of this newness, like where do we go from here type of energy. For feminine, this is almost feeling like a bit of a balancing act internally right now, because again, you're simultaneously grieving, you're going through a grief period, letting go of the past, releasing what was not serving you, holding space for where you find yourself at this time that almost potentially feels like a little bit of a mourning process, versus recognizing that there is a point of having this new start that is coming through right now. It's effectively making you have to like move through two different modalities at once. So any feelings of exhaustion that the feminine is effectively having at this time, this is potentially why, because it may be feeling energetically or spiritually right now that you have to balance more than one modality at this time. And you may be finding that you're going back and forth between looking at something and feeling like you are in a point of mourning versus you are in a point of a fresh start. Masculine energy right now, what we're effectively seeing and identifying is a point that you yourself are also going through a little bit of this energy. You're going to be mirroring the feminine in separation to a certain extent here, because what we're really seeing is happening at this time for you is this point of observation in recognizing that you yourself are at a point where you are trying to ask yourself, you realize that you just let something go. The problem right now for the masculine energy in separation is you're now potentially even questioning what you released, because you are saying to yourself, is this a restart? Is this a brand new start for you? Or is this something that you're just giving yourself some time away from? This, I need to stress right now, is also going to be a bit of a problem for the masculine, because we're seeing here that recognizing that you sometimes go into this modality is exactly you seeing the pattern that you go into at this time. Because masculine, you are recognizing your own ability of not necessarily creating closure in your own life that is causing a lot of this unhealed karmic energy to connect to you. Because what we're effectively seeing right now is masculine, you are recognizing that you don't allow for closure points. You don't allow for the conclosure of cycles. Instead, it's almost like you're constantly in a space where you are looking at things and saying, is that actually over? Is this a new start? Or is this just something that I have put to rest for a short period of time? Recognizing this within the self masculine is why you now find yourself at this point in terms of recognizing and asking yourself what you want to do going forward, because you realize that this is effectively what you've been creating for yourself that has been causing so much of the difficulty, so much of the confusion. It is the lack of closure in situations that is almost accumulated and building up right now around the unhealed karmic energy that needs to be addressed. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Four of Swords in combination with our King of Cups, okay? May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Pentacles in its reversal. We need to identify what is not working so that we can figure out what is working. Masculine and feminine energy in this modality. This is the value and significance of the partnership itself. This is that point of observation that we are seeing right now that is allowing masculine and feminine energy in partnership or divine union right now to be able to move forward more effectively. Masculine and feminine energy are valuing the importance and significance of having some point of rest, because without a point of rest, it doesn't allow you to work effectively. Masculine and feminine energy are trying to find that sweet spot between how much you are working right now versus points of rest to find what is going to work in the partnership itself. Masculine is helping the feminine energy right now potentially manage their own priorities to allow for some more periods of rest, seeing the fact that the feminine energy needs this in this capacity. Feminine, you may be feeling the significance and power of a masculine energy that is effectively prioritizing your rest over your ability to work. This is what the feminine is effectively, ideally aspiring and appreciating right now with the masculine energy. This is not a masculine energy that is saying to the feminine in divine union and partnership right now, you need to work. This is almost a masculine that says, I'm trying to help facilitate your own need for rest right now. I'm trying to facilitate a space or place where I recognize that you need that rest in order to work effectively right now. And this for the feminine is also what is helping to empower the partnership energy right now, because it's effectively getting that point of insight from masculine that is helping you as you go forward from this point. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is working to come into partnership at this time, that is working to come into union. This is also that moment that, again, you may have released a lot of energy at this time. You may have just shed a lot of things at this time that you felt were not serving you, but you are feeling the contentment and the joy in doing so. This isn't necessarily something that you are feeling bad about doing. You are feeling at peace with it. Masculine, you are feeling that because you're feeling the power of the partnership energy. You're feeling the peace that comes with being in a divine partnership cycle right now. Feminine, you may be seeing this right now in a masculine energy that just made a lot of changes in their own life, but you are recognizing the fact that the masculine seems very copacetic with it, which is further affirming to you that this is a masculine that is truly seeking divine union and partnership at this time. Now, masculine and feminine energy in separation at this time. This is the feminine energy that is potentially needing a lot of rest at this time. If you are in separation and you are feminine right now, there could be a moment of really prioritizing your own sense of rest at this moment, because it's not the fact that you're not working to manifest masculine energy that is in this point of balance. It is almost recognizing that this is not something that you can cultivate or curate right now in the masculine energy. Thank you so much for the gift. This is either something that you need to find there that exists, or it doesn't. It's that simple. It's either there or it's not. Feminine energy in this modality at this time, this is more recognizing that this is why the feminine needs to be more discerning going forward from this time. This is the feminine almost saying to themselves, my job is just to make sure I'm allowing the right energy near me. Energy that shows this ability or degree of being in emotional balance is not something that I can create. It's something that I just have to find. This is feminine almost affirming to themselves that they're not going to take on any more karmic homework at this time, just looking for someone that is already healed. Masculine energy right now that is in separation, this is that moment of recognition in the self on what has not been working. Because again, there's almost a point of comprehension that is happening right now for masculine energy in this modality that is really helping to identify to the masculine. And this is also going to almost come through right now for masculine energy and separation as a point of exhaustion. But this point of exhaustion may be coming through within the self. There is potentially something that you may be identifying that you've been going through, patterns, your own patterns, that you may now be feeling are not working. They're not working effectively. They're not having the same result. They're not bringing you to what you are effectively desiring. This is a shifting of your own priorities at this time. And almost this need or desire for rest right now that is creating a sense of coming into better emotional balance within the self, coming into a deepening understanding of what you truly need, what you truly value going forward, is requiring some changes in how you've been doing things thus far. So we like seeing this even for the energy of masculine that is in separation at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these parts right now between our Ace of Pentacles in combination with our Two of Swords, in combination with our Judgment card. Big cards right now. So what are we effectively seeing at this time? Well, we are seeing right now for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in this modality. We are effectively recognizing and identifying the fact that for masculine energy in this modality at this time and feminine, that in partnership, this is a point of really feeling the point of balance between the decisions that you are making right now. It is not a question of the opportunities that are coming towards you as it relates to partnership, to how you want to move forward at this time. It is more about where you are putting your time, effort, and energy going forward. It is this point of recognition. It is this point of observation. It is allowing for this easement. But again, it is requiring you to be more selective with your time, effort, and energy. For masculine and feminine in partnership, this is also we are seeing or coming into partnership at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now with our Queen of Pentacles. And we love to see this because what we are really identifying at this moment for masculine and feminine energy is this point of recognition, is this point of understanding, really looking at circumstances and situations and coming into a sense of peace and clarity. Masculine and feminine energy right now in partnership. This is the stability that is being created in the partnership itself. Masculine energy right now, you are providing a lot of emotional support to feminine. Feminine energy for their part, they're providing a lot of substantial support to masculine right now as it relates to grounding, as it relates to creating a stable environment for the masculine. Feminine energy, one of the reasons that the masculine is effectively trying to help the feminine come into this point of balance is concentrating on being able to be there for the partnership itself. Masculine wanting that type of energy around them at this time is very important and very valuable. Feminine right now, you could be feeling this need or this energy right now to really focus on building something very stable between you and masculine in partnerships and relationships at this time. This is going to feel like a lot of grounding energy for feminine at this time, really focusing on building this point of stability for the self. But again, the point of stability not coming from overburdening yourself with a lot of external obligations, more just recognizing what it is that you want to focus on to help build that point of stability going forward. Masculine, you may be helping the feminine recognize this right now. And how is the masculine helping the feminine recognize this at this time? Masculine is effectively saying to feminine, you need to focus. You need to decide what your main priority is. You need to focus on what is going to be your highest priority going forward. Allow that to dictate the path ahead. Feminine, you may be doing this for yourself right now in divine union and partnership, potentially with a lot of emotional support from masculine at this time. Masculine, you may be feeling right now that you are able to do this because your priority is the feminine. Your priority is the relationship that you're building with the feminine. And this is why we see with the masculine right now, it is having that stable feminine energy around you at this time that is effectively allowing you to put your own time, effort, and energy in the things that you're truly committed to at this moment. This is really the beauty of a divine partnership right now because it is allowing the energy to really focus their time, effort, and energy on what they're trying to create for themselves as opposed to the outside energy that is around them. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is moving into partnership at this moment, you are also seeing that this is the power of the partnership. Thank you so much for the gift. It is being able to consolidate your energy back to yourself that is allowing you to really decide how to go forward. It's going to be more of a question though right now for masculine and feminine moving into partnership at this time. Because what we're really identifying and experiencing at this moment is almost this point of recognition that we are seeing that is coming through right now in terms of saying to oneself, we've made these decisions. Masculine and feminine just made these points of judgment around them. And now it is a point of looking at to one another and saying, where do we want to go from here? What is going to be our priority going forward? The priority has been made right now in each other's energy in terms of what you want to do. How you express that going forward. What the next step is going to be a lot of the conversation happening right now for the energy that's just come into divine union or partnership. For the energy that either just recently went into separation, especially for masculine. For feminine, it's not necessarily separation. We're seeing that this is just a lot of closing out of cycles right now. Feminine, this is almost that point of building back into the strength of the self right now in separation. Feminine energy is recalling their own energy and bringing it back into themselves, focusing on their own sense of stability, creating this sense of stability for themselves at this moment. But what we appreciate right now for the feminine energy is it doesn't necessarily come through right now as a feeling of really wanting to search for masculine energy that is in this point of balance. There's almost a feminine energy coming into a state or space of saying to themselves, the way to manifest that energy is simply to build this stability around themselves. Feminine's almost recognizing right now that the best way to kind of find that energy is just to continue to focus on the self. This is almost going to come through with a feminine energy and separation right now that really isn't very available to outside energy. Really just consolidating, working on themselves, working what they're trying to create for themselves at this moment, focusing on their plans, focusing on their projects, focusing on their own growth, almost having a much more cavalier or fatalistic approach in terms of partnership right now, saying to themselves, I am going to focus on the self. And if that energy, that is almost the best way the feminine's identifying to bring that energy towards them, which is like feminine being like, I'm not going to go look around for the feminine and the masculine energy. I'm not going to go seek it. The masculine energy that's seeking this will seek me, is almost how the feminine's effectively coming into this modality right now. That's also why we see that the feminine energy is in this space right now of effectively looking and seeking the opportunities that are coming towards them, as opposed to being the one to facilitate any points of engagement at this time. While for masculine energy in this modality at this time, this is going to feel very different. Masculine energy in separation at this time is effectively coming into a moment of recognizing your own limiting factor. This is a moment of a masculine that may have potentially just moved away or walked away from an energy that was offering some kind of opportunity at this time. And this is a masculine energy that is effectively, again, recognizing that it is your inability to make a choice that is a bit of the area that you are working to heal at this time, because you are effectively recognizing at this time that it is you constantly vacillating between an offer and a decision that makes it almost impossible to bring in a stable feminine energy, because we're effectively seeing right now that for a lot of this energy that was trying to come towards a feminine at this time, we are seeing that there's a point of observation that you may have moved away from something that was the opportunity. And this is that point of the masculine asking oneself, going on this journey of self-discovery, to ask themselves, what is it that I am really seeking right now? Because there's a moment right now that is balancing between a stable feminine energy that the masculine may feel like they just walked away from. Because this is the problem. I don't want to say problem. This is why this is now becoming a healing journey for masculine. Because we're seeing that for a lot of this masculine energy that's just moved back into separation, this is a moment of looking at something and saying, that seems like it would have been a very solid opportunity. There's nothing there that one can look at and say that there was something wrong with it, but it was creating a point of dissatisfaction in the self right now that is making you explore that point of dissatisfaction, to ask yourself what it is that you're truly seeking. Because you're even now potentially, for some of this energy that's just moved into separation, there may even be a point of reconsideration that you're taking at this time as it relates to what you walked away from and whether you should have walked away from it. But again, one of the things that's so important right now for the masculine in this point of separation is seeing your own pattern here and really asking yourself at this time, what is it that you want, and who do you want by your side as you do it? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Pentacles in combination with our Two of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. This is very, very important right now, because What are we effectively seeing right now that is happening? We are seeing that for masculine and feminine energy in partnership right now, it's not going to feel as difficult. In divine union and in divine partnership, there is a moment of needing to determine what the priority is going forward. That's all there is to this. It really is going to feel more like that point of consolidation. Masculine, feminine, you're going through this at this time. It is feeling like a little bit of a balancing act because, and this is something that may happen right now, I need to warn about this, even for the energy that is in partnership. There is potentially an oppositional factor that is occurring right now between the priorities of one versus the priorities of another. Having to balance those oppositional priorities right now may be feeling like a bit of a struggle point right now in divine union and partnership. Why are we seeing this right now? Because we are seeing effectively that masculine and feminine energy may feel like you got that point of being pulled in separate directions. We saw that a lot last week. Being able to balance each other's priorities is now feeling like there has to be a point of understanding or feeling like each one wants their priority to be the priority. And this is going to feel like a little bit of a trigger point today. I need to even warn for the energies in partnership at this moment because there could be something that feels somewhat oppositional. That someone's priorities is effectively causing a friction point in the others. Having to balance this could almost be a point. And there may be some difficult conversations happening today in terms of identifying and saying, do one of our priorities override the others? Is there one here that we need to focus our effort, our energy, and attention to? Because what we're really seeing at this time is something about this balancing act is reaching a point that is almost feeling a little too overwhelming because it looks like one or the other's energy right now in partnership is expanding. It's getting bigger. It's taking up more. And this is where we need to see a little bit of that refocusing that is effectively happening at this time to really help identify what the priority is going to be at this moment. And it is feeling like, I gotta stress, even for the energy in partnership right now, this could be a bit of that struggle point. Where is that priority coming in? What is going to be the priority is the point of consternation right now in the partnered energies, because we see for the energies that are even in divine union right now, there is something here about one of those opportunities, someone's opportunity expanding to such a point that is requiring some readjustment or recalibration. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is trying to move into partnership at this time, this is also what we see is occurring right now that is feeling like a little bit of that difficulty, because what we are really identifying at this time is a point of recognition at this moment as it relates to the fact that we are effectively seeing at this time for the energies trying to come into partnership at this moment. We are identifying that this is a moment where, again, there's a lot of realignment that's occurring. A lot of removal may have occurred recently in terms of moving into deepening partnership, having to push some energy away, having to potentially even have some energy move away from you. This is the recalibration factor of becoming the partnership, becoming the priority. And it almost feels like a little bit of a pause point as you see the pieces fall into play, allowing for these points of readjustment feel like a little bit of this stop-start, because while it is kind of forcing you to stop some things to a certain extent, it is also creating a space or place right now in which you recognize that this is a little bit of that pause point you need prior to being able to move into the deepening commitments. Continuing to get clarification right now between our Two of Pentacles in combination with our Eight of Pentacles in its reversal. Oh, apologies. Let's just continue here for a minute. Now, masculine and feminine energy, I forgot the energy in separation. Apologies. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation at this time. This is that moment that is going to feel like a bit more of a struggle point, because again, this is the masculine and feminine energy asking themselves where to put their energy going forward right now. Feminine energy right now, you are in a space or place if you are in separation. where and this is why we see that a lot of the feminine energy and separation right now is simply not in a modality or in a space or place where they may be putting a lot of effort and energy outside of the self at this time. Because there's almost a moment right now of feeling the frustration of balancing outside priorities versus their own right now, really wanting to commit their time, effort, and energy into what they're trying to build for themselves at this moment is something that they are also doing for themselves at this time. And it is feeling like a bit of a pause point because feminine energy, as we said, they're going through a point of balancing between modalities right now in separation. It is feeling a point of observing the separation point of experiencing something that on one hand feels like you are going through a grief process. You are releasing, you are letting go. Versus this being an opportunity or experience, whereas there are new starts, there are fresh starts, new ground is being laid, new opportunities are being committed. And it is almost at this point that we are experiencing at this time that feminine energy is effectively looking at this as a point of view. This is feminine energy almost recognizing that they have to have the right perception at this time to help them navigate any of these hurdles that they are currently experiencing at this moment. Now, for masculine energy, in separation at this time, what we are effectively identifying and experiencing is a point of recognizing what it is that you truly want going forward. For the masculine energy in this modality at this time, what we are really seeing here is a point of observation, is a point of seeing one's own cycles, seeing one's own patterns. There is also almost a moment right now masculine is having in separation in seeing the fact that you haven't necessarily said no to something. You've walked away from something, but you still feel to a certain extent like that is something that you are considering, that you are recognizing is a bit of your challenge point, is something that needs that correction, because it almost is helping you recognize the difference between you being able to go forward from a point of commitment, i.e. allowing for committed energy to commit back to you in kind, versus wanting to balance multiple priorities at this time that is feeling like such a challenging space. Because what we're really identifying at this moment is you are seeing how this is a blockage in your own cycle. And correcting this blockage or working through this hurdle right now is almost what we see a lot of the masculine energy in separation doing. It's looking at the self and saying, how can I come into a point of accommodation and adjustment on this? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 2 of Pentacles in combination with our 8 of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 7 of Cups in its reversal. Everything is about really focusing on what it is that you are truly aiming for going forward. Masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership. It is this isolating on the priority that is really helping you during this time. We are effectively seeing right now that for masculine and feminine energy in this modality at this time, it is this focusing on the priority that is helping you as you go deeper into commitment. Masculine and feminine energy are effectively recognizing, again, we're seeing this almost as, again, a lot of that shedding of anything that feels like it isn't important. A lot of that shedding of outside obligations, other opportunities at this time. This is almost coming through as a state or space of easement or relief, because it's almost this point of saying it's okay identifying what's working, because there's a feeling of having a lot to do, having a lot on your plate. The obligations are there. It's more about finding that refinement point that is helping you, because the partnership itself almost creates that refinement point through which you are looking at the outside obligations around you at this time. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into partnership, you are also seeing this right now in the partnership itself. This is that point of observation that you yourself are also making at this time, really identifying and articulating upon the fact that you see that you are letting go of outside options. You are letting go of other opportunities. You have that point of observation that the partnership itself is becoming the priority. And it's not necessarily the point of recognizing that that makes everything easy. It's more about how that's going to adjust the current experience that you're having right now, because we see that there are modification points that are coming. We see that there are changes that are occurring, things that aren't working now, things that are, and it's all based on what needs to be aligned or adapted now that both energies have really shown the fact that they are committed to making the changes necessary to deepen into that partnership. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are in separation, this is the feminine energy effectively. Again, we see a lot of this feminine energy, and I don't like to call this separation right now. We see this feminine energy coming into a point of recognizing what is working in their life right now versus what is not. Feminine energy may be feeling right now that one of the points of observation that they're giving as it relates to past experiences is feminine having too much adaptability. Feminine energy potentially feeling like one of the things that they need to work through on themselves is looking at something that is giving every observable option or every point of clarity that something is not working, but instead leaving some point of viability there. This is almost the feminine energy going into a point of renewed confirmation to themselves in saying that the feminine energy, again, much like the energy we saw in terms of the lessons of the Venus in retrograde cycle coming through as it relates to feminine's own ability to overgive to situations. This is feminine energy almost recognizing that holding on to situations and circumstances that do not work, trying to find a way for them to work, is not something that the feminine energy is going to be doing going forward. This is almost a feminine energy saying to themselves, it either shows immediately that it works or it doesn't work. There's not going to be as much wiggle room going forward for feminine in terms of saying, allowing energy in that needs some of this recalibration or adjustment. Masculine energy, this is the affirmation that the feminine's making themselves as they proceed forward from this point. Masculine energy in separation at this time, this is the moment of you yourself looking at something and you are vacillating. You are potentially even vacillating right now in a decision that you made recently that may have brought you into separation. But you are potentially even recognizing that that is a problem. That is one of the problems here that needs to be navigated. Your own ability to say something is not working, but then to effectively change your mind is effectively one of the things that's helping you come into better emotional balance, because you're realizing and recognizing how that going back and forth between looking at something and saying, is it over, is it not, it's not working, maybe it is, this back and forth, it's not creating a space of easement, it's creating some kind of point that is untenable. And it is this point of having to make a choice right now that is feeling so significant, because there's a point of understanding that regardless of how you go forward, whether this is going back to some energy that made some offer to you, that you recognize there was some possibility on, or if there's something new that you haven't experienced going forward, this is that point of observation and saying you need to make some kind of choice going forward, and you need to be more committed as it relates to your own ability to commit. Because it's almost a masculine energy recognizing their own inability to commit is now creating a bit of a karmic blockage. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Pentacles in combination with our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Wands in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that is working through partnership, that is going through these difficulties or challenges right now. What we are effectively seeing is this moment of observation, is this moment of clarification, of really identifying and recognizing what is working and what is not. For the feminine energy right now, this is coming through as a bit of a hurdle or challenge, because what we're really seeing right now is potentially this is a feminine energy that recognizes they have to articulate a certain thing, circumstances right now where they may have felt like they have overcommitted to some things. We are seeing here that feminine energy is working through their own hurdles at this time. And some of the hurdles that may be coming through right now for feminine energy and partnership is recognizing that their own feeling of not wanting to disappoint energy around them may lead them to being in spaces or places wherein they simply can't, it's not tenable. It's almost this moment of recognizing that their own feeling of lack of wanting to disappoint others is something that they are trying to amend going forward. The feminine energy is having this point of observation right now, and it may be creating a little bit of a blockage point right now, because this is a feminine energy that knows what they want in terms of stability, but they may have a hard time articulating it because they don't want to disappoint the energy that is around them. Feminine may be getting a lot of emotional support right now from masculine to help overcome these personal blockages or these personal hurdles. Masculine energy right now, this could be a moment of observation that you yourself are reaching in terms of observing and recognizing right now that you may feel like there may be some circumstances and situations around you right now wherein you may be identifying that the feminine energy is also in this modality of having this hard time letting energy down. It's like this point of looking at the feminine, trying to give them this guidance point and saying, listen, your responsibility isn't necessarily to come through a point of success for everything. It's being successful. It's being more selective in terms of where you want to put that. Masculine, you may be helping the feminine in this modality as well. And the feminine may be helping you right now in this same way, specifically because what we're really identifying and seeing right now for the masculine energy in this modality is this point of observation, is this point of recognition in terms of understanding that the feminine is also there to create a supportive system for those moments that you yourself doubt yourself. That this is almost a feminine energy right now that's effectively saying to masculine, listen, no matter how things play out, no matter how things pan out, I am going to be here for you. I am going to be here to support you. We are going to get through this together. This is that mutual strength that the partnerships are creating for themselves, that basically are articulating and saying, I have your back through this. I have your back through whatever we're going through right now. And this is creating that battery effect. It's creating that supportive energy that we love to see in the partnered energies at this time. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is working to come into partnership, this is that moment of observation that you're both potentially feeling right now, because what did we say? What was required right now to be able to come into partnership? There was a point of observation and having to let some energy down, almost feeling to a certain extent that you had to let some energy down in order to move into the deepening of the partnership. But this is that point of feeling okay with doing that. There's a moment right now that there's kind of a wait and see approach that's being taken in these energies at this time. But this is almost a point that we are seeing that both energies are confirming to themselves that it's okay, that the job of the partnership isn't necessarily to feel like there's points of success outside of the partnership, that the partnership itself is the point of success. And it is coming into that alignment with each other that is allowing for this state or space of easement going forward. It is that conscientious point in saying we choose the partnership regardless of what outside energy thinks or feels, and that in itself is also allowing for a point of recalibration and alignment. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation. Again, this is the feminine energy in separation that is effectively just almost calling their own energy back to themselves, affirming the security and the strength that they're building in this point of what they're creating for themselves at this moment. And this is almost this point of confirmation in terms of being more selective right now. Because we are seeing at this point that there is almost a slowdown in terms of wanting to go out and seeking energy right now. Because feminine's almost saying to themselves right now, if in separation, there's no need in going out looking for that energy. That energy is going to effectively find me if and when it's ready. But feminine is almost at this point of just not necessarily being in the modality of wanting to look for masculine energy at this time. This is feminine energy in separation saying, I'm just taking some me time. I'm taking time to focus on myself. I don't have the space or the place or the bandwidth to experience any of that right now. And that's almost the feminine being okay with that. Masculine energy in separation at this time, what we are effectively seeing at this moment is also a point of recognition. This is masculine in separation right now that is helping build a point of realignment, because this is a masculine right now that is potentially seeing a very stable feminine energy that they called a halt to, or they put the brakes on to a certain extent. And this is almost the masculine energy asking themselves why. This is more of that self-work that the masculine is having right now in a point of isolation, in a point of solitude, in a point of separation, and saying to themselves, what is it that I am seeking that I would create a blockage right now from stable feminine energy coming towards me? It is helping the masculine really refine what it is that their heart is truly after at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now, this is more of that energy of just kind of like coming into a space or state of needing to release any opportunities or situations that feel like they're not in alignment with you. One of the things we keep seeing right now for the energies in partnership is this feeling of potentially having over-invested yourself in different areas, recognizing right now some things that you may feel like you're over-committed to at this time. For masculine and feminine, this is potentially pulling back your own energy. It's going to feel like a lot of energetic recall right now for the energy and partnership at this moment, because this is almost that point or that space of looking at something and saying, I feel secure here. I feel good. I feel like I have what I need. I don't necessarily need anything beyond the partnership right now. In fact, it's almost looking at anything outside of the partnership energy right now as feeling like it's just taking away from what it is that you're effectively creating at this time. For masculine and feminine in this modality, this is almost further confirmation in the strength of the partnership. Masculine, you may have been looking right now to feminine that may feel like they've committed themselves to things right now. And again, helping them say it's okay to let people down. It's okay to tell them if you're not feeling invested in something, if you're not feeling up to something. This is something that you have this ability to do, and I'm here to support you. Feminine, you may be saying right now to masculine, much the same. There could be a moment right now that, again, we're almost seeing that there's this confirmation and saying like the strength and viability of the partnership is such that it's creating a level or degree of contentment. For masculine and feminine in partnership at this time, it's more just allowing this feeling to perpetuate. It's allowing this feeling to continue. It's being able to create in this space or place right now that feels like the positive thing. It's almost like allowing that to be a point of objectivity and observation in terms of the choices that you're making moving forward. Being very selective with where you put your time, space, and energy is specifically because of the fact that you're feeling the contentment of the divine partnership. This is coming through right now for both the energy that's in divine partnership right now and also for the energy that is moving into divine partnership. Again, it's this point of comprehension and understanding where it's like letting energy down around you doesn't feel like it is the priority because it's just simply not your highest priority. You've got the partnership as the priority. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation. What we are effectively seeing at this time is almost a moment of observation that's coming through right now in terms of identifying and recognizing right now what it is that you're focusing your energy on. Feminine right now is not in a space. If feminine energy is working right now, and I don't even want to say separation right now, it's more feminine energy being in a space or state of autonomy. This is almost feminine energy saying they don't have the effort, they don't have the time to want to put in anything that feels like it is wasting their time. Feminine energy is almost feeling a point right now of feeling the frustration of having their time wasted. Looking at anything that was unhealed and just saying that energy did not know what they wanted. They were just wasting my time. Feminine energy is why the feminine energy is so conscientious. And again, not wanting to come into a state or space of looking at energy and feeling like they need to fix it, feeling like they need to adjust it. Because feminine's own objectivity on this is shifting right now and saying that that's no longer a work in progress. That is just energy that feminine feels is wasting their time because they do not know what they want, which is why we see the feminine is focusing so much right now on King of Cups energy, energy that is emotionally balanced, energy that knows what they want, energy that is very expressive and communicating in terms of articulating what that need and desire is. That is how the feminine energy is navigating any of these feelings of frustration in anything that feel like it's coming towards them from a more flippant way. Masculine energy right now that is in separation. This is that point of observation that is effectively happening right now, because this is now the opposite of the effect. There could be a moment right now, masculine, where you feel like you let go of some opportunities or possibilities, specifically to leave the space and place of outside opportunities open. The problem with this right now for masculine energy and separation is you may not necessarily feel the positivity in this anymore. This is almost giving something about like the feeling of like the thrill is gone. Having all of that experience, having all of that opportunity around you, it doesn't feel like a positive thing anymore. It's starting to feel like a negative thing. And there may be some anxiety right now that is potentially happening for masculine energy that's in this modality, in terms of feeling the weight or the anxiety or the effort that you may have waited too long on something. That there's something here where you left your options open for too long. And now it's that point of realizing that you left your options open for too long, that is now realizing it's feeling like a karmic blockage, because having all that energy around you right now, it doesn't feel like a good thing. It feels like it's now blocking your own ability in terms of choosing something that you truly want. It's almost having a lot of energy around you, but not the thing you want. And for the masculine, this is almost, again, requiring this point of really asking yourself, if you're in separation, what it is that your heart truly desires. Is that something that you can move towards? Is that something that is available to you? How are you going to do that? Because now, again, there's that point. And what did we observe? We observed that for some of the masculine energy right now, that desire, that change that was going to have to be elicited in terms of making some accommodations to your own life, does feel like a bridge too far. It feels almost like you've painted yourself into a corner, because it is almost that point of observation that we're seeing again, related to the fact that the masculine is identifying that this is a point of looking at something and saying, I wanted to keep something open. I wanted to keep all of this energy around me. I wanted to not change anything in my immediate sphere of influence. But the masculine making that choice right now is starting to feel like it wasn't necessarily the positive choice. It's feeling more like, again, it's recognizing that that choice to always leave that space of adaptability is the blockage from being able to find what they truly seek. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Final card in our spread between our Six of Wands in its reversal and our Three of Cups in its reversal. Very important energy for all energies at play right now. One card to clarify. 10 of Pentacles in its reversal. Very important, because this is what we're effectively seeing right now. This is why we are seeing that there's this point right now in terms of really narrowing the focus as it relates to the obligations and opportunities outside of the partnerships at this time. Because there's almost this moment of feeling a need or desire to mitigate some sense of chaos. Masculine and feminine energy that's working in partnership at this time, this is almost that point of comprehension. Of almost recognizing that like every priority that you bring into the partnership just brings with it more chaos that needs to be navigated, more difficulty, more hurdles. Masculine and feminine energy in this modality right now is trying to effectively recognize this. And again, it's this point of having to potentially release some energy right now and all of the difficulty that may relate to. But it's also giving a lot of energy of saying that it doesn't necessarily feel like something that feels like that much of a loss, because we're effectively seeing to a certain extent that this feels to a certain extent like you're just letting go of something that is creating more chaos. It's creating more difficulty than success. This is, again, more of that energy that we're seeing in terms of navigating some circumstances, experiences that don't feel like they're coming to a point or a state of some kind of long-term victory going forward. And it is requiring a point of observation and looking at some things right now and saying, listen, this can't really go forward in this capacity, because there's not just the fact that it's creating immediate difficulty, but there is a feeling of it not necessarily changing anytime soon. So again, masculine and feminine energy right now in this modality in partnership, there's an observation of the release of outside obligations or outside energy, but it's almost like a point of shaking one's head and saying that that's okay. It's not necessarily a problem. It is more a point of observation in saying, like, these are things that need to be pushed away, that need to be removed because they're not necessarily benefiting the partnership itself. Masculine and feminine energy in partnership or trying to come into partnership. This is more of that energy we saw of effectively having to disappoint some energy around you right now. And it is making some things potentially immediately chaotic because we see here that there's a lot of that readjustment that is occurring right now in the energy around the partnership. But it's almost like a bunch of like blocks falling into place. It's almost feeling like a little bit of Connect 4, right? It's giving that energy of having to like clear some things out so that you can build the partnership in a better way. Almost recognizing that that sense of chaotic energy is something that needs to just be navigated as you deepen into this commitment process. Masculine and feminine energy in separation at this time. This is that point of observation that we are effectively recognizing and seeing is so important right now. Because again, in separation right now, we're seeing that this is feminine energy. That's really, again, I wouldn't even call this separation feminine energy. This is feminine energy really recalling or pulling back a lot of their own energy to the self right now. Because this is almost a point right now of the feminine looking around them at the current environment and not seeing any opportunity that they feel particularly eager to invest their time, effort, or energy into. This is almost a feminine energy right now, feeling the frustration of looking at energy not from a state or space of how it's going to improve the life of themselves, because this is a feminine energy that's focusing very much on their own stability. Rather, it's having a point of deep scrutiny in energy that is around them at this time to say to themselves what isn't going to bring in chaos, what isn't going to bring in that difficulty or that hurdle, what isn't going to create those difficulties right now is so important for the feminine energy, because this is almost a moment that we are seeing that the feminine energy would rather be in their point of self, in their point of building stability for themselves than potentially let the wrong energy in that they feel is only going to upset their own process in that way. This is really coming through with a lot of feminine energy protecting their peace at all costs. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is going to feel much more difficult because there is a moment right now, and again, I keep identifying this as almost the feeling of having painted oneself into a corner wherein we are observing that there is a point of the masculine having effectively recognized that up until this point, the choices that you are making as it relates to staying in a point of autonomy right now were ones that were effectively allowing you to want to keep your options open. But that's no longer having the appeal that it once did. This is why we see that this is healing that's coming through one way or another right now, because keeping your options open in this way, it's not creating any sense of joy anymore. It's not creating that sense of enjoyment. It's almost feeling like now it's a point of observing and saying it feels to a certain extent like you're making the choice to choose chaos. Like you're almost like willfully choosing chaos instead of peace. And this is that moment that is also creating a point for masculine energy in separation that is potentially going to feel a lot like a masculine energy coming into a space or place of deep understanding in the self. Because the question, the overriding question that masculine may be asking themselves right now in a point of separation is, why do I continue to choose chaos? What is that bringing me? Because apparently any kind of the joy that it may have been bringing up until this point, it feels like that joy is gone. Bottom of the deck, or you're not seeing the success for making, it's almost like having made that choice, choosing. It's like a masculine energy who went into separation, choosing that autonomy is now there and looking around and feeling dissatisfaction and saying, this is what I chose. Why did I choose this? Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is Hanged Man. Now, this is going to feel very different depending on where you are on these partnership cycle. Masculine and feminine energy that is working right now in partnership. It's not the fact that the partnership is completely easy. There's a recognition point that partnership is difficult. It adds a layer or degree of difficulty. You can't move with the autonomy that you typically would outside of a partnership dynamic. But it's all about right now the value and significance in recognizing the importance of what creates difficulty and what you get back in kind. Masculine and feminine energy right now, there's even that point of observation right now in terms of feeling some of that struggle point, in terms of what that prioritization is going to look like going forward. But even coming through some of that difficult adaptability, even going through a point right now of having to let go of some opportunities, accepting others, this is almost that willful, determinative choice that the partnered energies are making, saying, it's not always the easiest decision to be in partnership, but I choose the difficulty or the hurdle of the partnership because of the gift that it gives back in kind. Masculine and feminine that is working into partnership at this moment or coming into divine union, you are recognizing that this is going to be a bit of that way it feels going forward. It's going to feel a little bittersweet. You give up a little, but you get something back in kind that creates and again amplifies the value of the partnership. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is the feminine energy effectively feeling like they are almost caught in a state of limbo right now, because we're seeing right now for a feminine energy at this time that there is a desire for divine union that is present. There is a desire to have that companionate energy. But for the feminine energy, it is much more about discernment. And the feminine energy is almost committing to themselves and saying, I would rather stay in a state or space of being in isolation, in being in separateness, than go into something that is effectively going to just bring chaos into their life right now. This is a feminine energy that's effectively identifying their own ability and degree. A feminine already recognizes this. Feminine already recognizes the fact that relationships are difficult, that they require sacrifice. The feminine is at that point where they're always willing to do that. Feminine energy is effectively reminding themselves, again, the value isn't wanting to come into a state or space of sacrifice in that way. It's being much more judicious on where they do that and how they do that going forward. Masculine energy right now in separation. This is that moment of feeling to a certain extent like you yourself are now in a state of limbo, because what we effectively see here is, again, you may feel like you have to make a hard decision here, because again, there's something about this where you keep choosing your autonomy. You just potentially walked away from something that feels like it could have created a very stable environment, looked very good on paper, was no reason to walk away from it. It is creating a sense or a state of self-contemplation to ask, why do you keep putting yourself through this? Because it is feeling somewhat cyclical here, because the difficulty now is for the masculine energy and separation, that choice of autonomy that you made right now, it's not bringing with it a feeling of easement. It's not bringing with it a sense of peace. It's bringing with it some feelings of frustration that are rising to the surface that need to be navigated, that are making you ask yourself, why did you effectively choose this if it's no longer giving back to you the way that it once did? That is our daily collective reading for the day. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. Please keep in mind that when you book a private reading, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Also, please keep in mind that when you book a private reading, it is very, very important, and I need to stress this, that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your PMs and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these readings. And we will do this again.